Hi, I'm very happy to meet you all once again through this video. In this video, we are going to talk about on inflation. Inflation is a very familiar term. We are often hearing this term either by the news channel or from newspaper, even in public speech. Each and every one of us uh, surely come across from this word, that is inflation. It is a very interesting and important one also. Today we are going to have a deep discussion on this, that is inflation, that is meaning, kinds, causes, and whether the inflation is good or bad, is 0% inflation is advisable, and so on. First, we move one by one. What is inflation? General rise in the price level and decrease in the value of money is called as a inflation. That is, prices are going up and the value of money comes down. That is the situation. We call this as an inflation. Just by rising a one or two commodity is not called as inflation. The general price level, that is a bundle of commodity or baskets of commodities which are used to measure this inflation, that prices are rises, then we call this as an inflation. The commodities which are commonly used by an individuals are used to measure this inflation. Okay, here the kinds of inflation we are going to discuss now. The annual rate of increase in the price makes a different kinds of inflation, that is creeping inflation, walking inflation, running inflation, and jumping inflation. We are categorizing these inflation based on the annual price growth rate. Let us move on one by one. What is creeping inflation? If the price rises at a very slower rate, that is up to 3% per annum, that is we call it as a creeping inflation. The prices are rises at a very slow, like a snail or a creeper. Such a inflation is regarded as a safe and essential for economic growth. The next one is walking inflation. When prices rises from 3 to 10% per annum, that is we call it as a walking inflation. Here it is an alarming or a warning signal for the government to control it before it turns into a running inflation. Next one is running inflation. When price rise rapidly, like the running of horse at a rate of speed of 10 to 20% per annum, it is called running inflation. Such an inflation affects the poor and middle class adversely. Its control needs a strong monetary and fiscal measures. Otherwise, it leads to a hyperinflation. Hyperinflation means if the prices rises from 10, 20 to 100% or more per annum, that is we call it as an hyperinflation. In hyperinflation, it is a very serious issue. It needs to a damage of or collapse of an economy. Many countries come across from this situation. In Zimbabwe, the $100 trillion are exchanged for just one American dollar. That much the value of currency reached the path. They have to give a bundle and bundle of currency notes to buy a half kg of tomato. Here we can see one more picture, that is this children are using currency notes to make a kite. That much the currency depreciation, value depreciation we can found in case of hyperinflation. We can quote some examples which the countries come across from this hyperinflation. That is Hungary in the year of 1946. Daily inflation rate rose at 2.7%. Prices are doubled at every 15.3 hours. Then in case of Zimbabwe, in June 2008, the country experienced hyperinflation. The daily inflation rate is 98%. Price, prices are doubled at 24.7 hours. Each day prices are doubled in Zimbabwe. In case of Yugoslavia, the country experienced hyperinflation in the year of 1992, April. In that country, the inflation rate was 64.6%. Prices were raised, doubled at 1.41 days. These are all the examples we can quote for hyperinflation. Hyperinflation leads to the collapse of an economic system. What Zimbabwe done? Zimbabwe discard its currency and it adapted USA's currency due to that country is unable to control is hyperinflation. Next, we will move on the types of inflation. Based on the causes of inflation, we are grouping the types of inflation under two heads, that is demandful inflation and costful inflation. In demandful inflation, we can see two views from the economist, that is from Keynesians, and another one is monetarist. Monetarist view is based on the traditional quantity theory of money. This monetarist view is led by Milton Friedman. According to them, inflation is always a monetary phenomena. The principal cause of demandful inflation is money. In a fully employed economy, when money supply increased, it brings a equal and proportionate change in the price level. That is, the quantity theory of money established a direct and proportional relationship between the quantity of money and price level. Because their quantity theory of money is based on the simple equation, that is MV equal to PT, where M is the quantity of money, V is the velocity of circulation, P is a price level, T is a total volume of transaction. They assumed the velocity of money and total volume of transaction are constant. Whatever may be the change in the M, it as a direct and proportional, it brings a proportional and direct change in the price level. This is we are shown in this diagram. When the money supply is OM, the price level was OP. When money supply is increased to OM2, price was also increased to P2. When money supply increased to M4, price will also increase to P4. This was clearly depicted in this diagram. Based upon this concept, monetarist explained their demandful inflation. According to Friedman, when monetary expansion taken place, it increased the nominal income of an individual. Then it increased the demand for goods. It rises the demand for labor. Then it rises the wage and input cost. Then finally it rises the prices. The monetarist view on this demandful inflation is clearly explained by this diagram. That is, in this figure we are used A and B2 figures. Suppose the money supply is increased at a given price level. P is determined by demand and supply at point E. The initial full employment situation at this price level is shown by the intersection of IS and LM. Curves at point E in panel A of the figure, where R is the interest rate and YF is the full employment level of income. Now with the increase in the quantity of money, the LM curve shift to the rightward as LM1 and intersects IS curve at the point E1, such that the equilibrium level of income rises to Y1 and the rate of interest is lower to R1. As the aggregate supply is assumed to fixed, there is no change in the position of IS curve. Consequently, the aggregate demand rises, which shift the demand curve to the right to D1, and thus excess demand is created equivalent to E1 in panel B of the figure. This rises the price level, aggregate supply being fixed as shown in the vertical position of the supply curve. Yes, this is the rise in the price level reduce the real value of money supply so that the LM curve shifts to the left as LM. That is LM1 curve shift to the left as LM. The excess demand will not be eliminated until the aggregate demand curve D1 cuts the aggregate supply curve S at point E dash. This means a higher price level P1 in the panel B and return to the original equilibrium position E in the upper panel of the figure where IS cuts the LM curve. This the result then it is self-limiting and the price level rises in exact proportion to the real value of the money supply to its original value. This is the concept explained by the monetarist for demandful inflation. Let us move on Keynesian views. Keynes and his followers emphasize the increase in the aggregate demand as the source of demandful inflation. There may be a more than one source of demand, that is consumer demand, then there is consumer demand arises from the consumers, then investment demand from the business, then government demand for goods and services. All these causes as aggregate demand. Thus, the aggregate demand comprises consumption, investment, and government expenditure. When the value of aggregate demand exceeds the value of aggregate supply at the full employment level, the inflationary gap arises. The larger the gap between the aggregate demand and aggregate supply, the more rapid the inflation. The Keynesians' views on this demandful inflation is explained by this diagram. When the quantity of money increases, its first effect is on the rate of interest, which it falls. Then fall in the rate of interest increase the investment, which would rise the aggregate demand. When aggregate demand would first affect only output and prices, so long as there are unemployed resources. But a sudden large increase in the aggregate demand would encounter bottlenecks when resources are still unemployed. The supply of some factors might become inelastic or others might be in short supply and non-substitutable. This would lead to the increase in marginal cost and hence in prices. Accordingly, prices would rise above average unit cost and profits would increase rapidly, which in turn would bid of wages owing to trade union pressures. The Keynesian theory of demandful inflation is explained graphically here. In this figure, A and B, suppose the economy is in equilibrium at E, where the IS and LM curves intersect with the full employment income YF. And the rate of interest is R. As shown in the panel A of the figure, corresponding to the situation, the price level is P in the lower panel B. Now the government increases its expenditure. The shifts IS curve to the rightward as IS1 and intersects the LM curve at E1. When the level of income and the interest rate rises to Y1 and R1, respectively. The increase in government expenditure implies an increase in the aggregate demand, which is shown by the upward shift of demand curve to D1 in the lower panel B of the figure. This creates excess demand to the extent of E1. At the initial price level P, excess demand tends to rise the price level as aggregate supply of output cannot be increased after the full employment level. As the price level rises, the real value of money supply falls. This shifts to the LM curve to the left to LM1 such that it cuts the IS curve at E2 where equilibrium is established at the full employment level of income YF, but at a higher interest rate R1 and higher price level P1. This is the explanation as given by the Keynesianist for demandful inflation. Now we will move on cost push inflation. The basic cause of cost push inflation is the rise in the money wages more rapidly than the productivity of labor. In advanced countries, trade unions are very powerful. They press employers to grant wage increase considerably in excess of increase in the productivity of labor, thereby rising the cost of production of commodities. Employers in turn rise the prices of their products. Higher wages enable the workers to buy as much as before in spite of higher prices. On the other hand, the increase in the prices induce the unions to demand still higher wages. In this way, the wage cost spiral continues, thereby leading to cost push or wage push inflation. Okay. Is inflation necessary or it is dangerous? Is 0% inflation is advisable? Most of the economists have the opinion that 0% inflation is not advisable. To encourage manufacturing and production, some percentage of inflation is needed. When price increases 2 or 3%, it benefits the economic growth. This kind of mild inflation makes consumers expect that the price will keep going up. That boosts demand. Consumers buy now to beat higher future prices. This mild inflation drives economic expansion. Okay. Is inflation affects all the people equally? No. It benefits someone. It affects the someone. It where to whom it affects are the losers of the inflation. That is the savers, creditors, fixed income groups, consumers, exporters are the losers of inflation. Whereas debtor, producer, government with high public debt, owner of the land or assets are the winners of the inflation. How? Inflation hurt those who keep cash savings and workers with fixed wages. Traditionally, savers lose from inflation if prices rise. The value of money falls and the real value of savings decline. For example, in periods of hyperinflation, people who had saved all their life could see the value of their savings wiped out because with higher prices, their savings are effectively worthless. Savers can be protected if they get a higher interest than the inflation rate. Another potential losers are from the workers group. Workers who are stuck on fixed wage contracts, suppose that workers have a wage freeze and then inflation affects severely. If inflation is 5%, it means that at the end of the year their wages purchases 5% less than the start of the year. Inflation hurt or affect workers harmfully, particularly those who are unorganized. are non-unionized. Okay, let us move on the winners. The business households, debtors, a government with high debt, producers, farmers, manufacturers, the owner of the land and assets are the gainer of the inflation. High rates of inflation can make it easier to pay back outstanding debt. Business will able to increase prices to consumers and use the extra revenue to pay their outstanding debts. Likewise, inflation can make it easier for the government to reduce the real value of its debt. And in period of hyperinflation, those with the savings can see a rapid fall in the real value of their savings. However, those who own physical assets tend to be protected. Physical wealth such as land, factories, machines will retain their value. The farmers did well because the prices of food continued to rise. The businesses who had borrowed large sums of fund had effectively, the debt has effectively disappeared due to the inflation, reducing the real value of debt. These businesses could buy up over firms who had gone out businesses due to their cost of inflation. And the people, those who owned land and physical assets, were able to maintain their wealth. This kind of inflation uh, creates unequal distribution of income and wealth. That's what inflation is not advisable, but for a mild inflation is good to produce a good effects in the economy. With this, I conclude my speech. Thank you. Thank you one and all for watching.